Ah, the Smithsonian Institution, a temple of learning, a bastion of science. Or is it? What if I told you that this venerable institution, this supposed gatekeeper of knowledge, was hiding something so big, so earth-shattering, that it could rewrite the story of humanity itself? Farmers, treasure hunters, and amateur archaeologists stumbled upon skeletons so large they'd make your local basketball team look like hobbits. Skeletal remains towering 9, 10, 12 feet tall were found in ancient burial sites alongside mysterious artifacts and intricate tools. Reports flooded newspapers, some even gracing the pages of the New York Times. Yes, the New York Times, back when it had fewer filters and a lot more nerve. But here's where things get weird. Every time these giants were found, in came the Smithsonian. Like a white-gloved cleaner in the dead of night, they swooped in, confiscated the bones, and poof! Those skeletons were never seen again. According to researcher and author Richard J. Dewhurst, the Smithsonian received hundreds of giant skeletons and allegedly destroyed them. Dewhurst's book, The Ancient Giants Who Ruled America, catalogs over 1,500 newspaper clippings and field reports detailing these anomalous remains. Let's talk about the infamous 2014 viral article claiming the Smithsonian admitted to destroying giant skeletons. Fact checkers called it satire, and technically, it was. But why did that story go viral in the first place? Because it struck a nerve. Because the idea we've been lied to about our origins doesn't feel absurd, it feels familiar. And satire, as always, thrives on uncomfortable truths. So, what happens when you bury truth under marble floors and academic tenure? You get a nation that forgets its giants, a species that shrinks its own history to fit within politically palatable timelines. If they existed, and the ancients said they did, then their DNA wouldn't have just disappeared. That's not how genetics works. DNA doesn't care about theological taboos. It lingers. It slips into recessive genes. It reemerges under the right conditions. And it hides best in plain sight. Elite families, royal bloodlines, isolated populations where endogamy preserves unusual traits. In 2019, Harvard researchers mapped DNA samples from 26 globally isolated populations and found anomalies, genetic traits with no clear evolutionary origin, some linked to unexpected muscle development, bone density, and height. The data was dismissed, quietly reframed as archaic admixture. But ask yourself, if it was Nephilim DNA, would they even tell us? And speaking of Schwab, this guy actually said on camera that the future is not just happening, it is being shaped by us. Us, of course, meaning the ultra-wealthy technocrats who see humanity not as sacred, but as editable. Schwab's dream? A society of augmented humans controlled through biotech, surveillance, and social credit systems. But why build a superhuman when you could find one hiding in the genome? What if Nephilim blood didn't vanish? It just drifted into obscurity, waiting for someone with enough computing power to rediscover it. So let's spell it out. A $1 trillion financial entity now controls a massive human genetic database. Its executives are aligned with world-shaping figures like Klaus Schwab, and those very figures are pushing an agenda of human transformation and controlled evolution. That's not conspiracy. That's a business model. And you, dear listener, are the raw material. If humanity is being replaced by what? And this is where Nephilim theory re-enters the frame. Not as ancient history, but as future policy. What if Schwab's goal isn't just to evolve us, but to resurrect a forgotten race, a hybrid class with superior traits, physical resilience, intellectual dominance, longevity, built not in Eden, but in Zurich, and selected not by God, but by algorithms and access to databases like, ancestry.com, which we now know is owned by BlackRock, whose CEO is Schwab's close personal ally. So, what happens next? Do they unveil a new class of rulers, genetically engineered, socially untouchable, and biologically superior? Are the giants returning, not as soldiers, but as CEOs? Then there's the Vatican's Codex Purpureus, a hidden manuscript allegedly recovered in the 1950s, detailing post-flood survivors of the Nephilim. According to Father Sergio Esteban, a defrocked Spanish priest turned whistleblower, the Vatican holds dozens of such documents in its secret archives. Some describe giant kings hidden by royal families. Others map Nephilim descendants through ancient Mesopotamian bloodlines. Still think the papal robes are just about liturgy? And if you think this is just ancient history, think again. Declassified CIA documents from the 1960s refer cryptically to ethnographic anomalies found in the Caucasus region. Individuals with skulls described as dolichocephalic, meaning elongated and unusually dense bone structure. These files were redacted, but one named remain, Operation Noah's Wake. Not to be confused with the 2002 Operation Noah's Ark by the Israelis, a genetic mapping project targeting remote highland populations. Does that sound like archaeology to you? Let's recap. The Smithsonian, founded to preserve truth, allegedly destroyed hundreds, perhaps thousands of oversized skeletons unearthed across North America. Indigenous legends described pale-skinned giants who ruled the land before the tribes arrived. And those stories, they weren't vague metaphors. They were warnings, oral histories, passed down with chilling consistency across continents. Meanwhile, we've established that modern humans are walking patchworks, genetic hybrids of Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, Denisovans, and possibly something else. Traits like accelerated growth, exceptional strength, and disease immunity don't just show up for no reason. And when isolated aristocratic lineages exhibit those traits generation after generation, it's not evolution, it's preservation. So here we are, at the edge of revelation. The evidence isn't a single skull, or a headline, or a laboratory. It's a pattern, a through line woven through time, power, and genome, a whisper in your ancestry report, a shadow in your family tree, a tall stranger with old money and no paper trail. The Nephilim weren't wiped out. They weren't a myth. They were a beginning. And whether they walk among us as CEOs, kings, or quietly engineered descendants in biotech labs, one thing is clear. The giants never fell. They simply stepped aside and waited.